All right, good evening, folks. How's it going out there? Welcome back here to a Saturday night, 10:27 p.m. That's California time here, February 22nd, 2025. Hope everyone is having a good weekend out there. Latest earthquake activity on the Earthquake 3D Globe shows a 1.0 across California. Pretty busy out there today along the San Andreas Fault and in general all across the west coast here, and that includes areas up around Canada. A broader scale event taking place. No big earthquake activity, but got to remember when we're seeing signs of elevated seismic events across a broad region, that's a obvious sign there that we could see a larger earthquake in near term. So the San Andreas Fault here along the creeping section, no migration down south yet towards the Parkfield area, but a number of earthquakes here along the plate boundary today. As you can see, quite a few twos, a bunch of threes in there as well. This is just the last 24 hours. 20 earthquakes, with the largest sequence of events being a 3.9 early this morning, 3.3 followed up by that last night. A number of threes in there, and that's a little odd to see that many threes in a short time period here on the San Andreas Fault. It is a creeping section, but that's a little bit more active than any normal day, so to speak. So a number of threes, 5 of them to be exact. We'll continue to keep an eye here on this area. The last one, a 1.8 earlier this afternoon. So nothing new to report, but that's still a decent amount of earthquake activity there along the San Andreas Fault. Further down south, some movement as well stirring up with 3.5 this afternoon just off the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. 2.6 well inland as well. And if you look here, when things start to move, when they really start to move out here, we notice it. It's not just a coincidence that we're seeing elevated seismic activity along the plate boundary here. It's been noted across the west coast here, all the way up from Vancouver area southward. Washington's been quite elevated. Oregon's seen a couple fracture earthquakes up here off the Cascadia, Northern California as well. A number of earthquakes, of course, all along the plate boundary there in California as well. So it's just an elevated event, and they come and go. And I think whenever things are coming, so to speak, here in terms of larger elevated activity, that's when the potential for larger movement goes up. So there's a 3-pointer just off the San Andreas Fault, 3.5, right off the curvature here, so to speak. It's not a good area to see any movement, and that looks like the only one of its kind there today so far. A couple smaller earthquakes just off the Bend section as well on the North American side, so it's quite strained out here. Scattered earthquake activity all across Southern California, more amplified than a normal day. Only 2 earthquakes here if you look at the Southern California map, a 3.5 and a 2.6 there. But again, even those microquakes are earthquakes and the sign of increasing strain out here. It's not stress release. If anything, it's a pressurization. I like to picture this as a pressurization event. When things start to really amplify out here in terms of the strain across the plate boundary, we see an increase in earthquake activity. There is no way this is stress release. I mean, in a micro scope type of thing, type of deal, it may be considered that, but I look at the overall bigger picture of an increasing stress potential out here and the larger possibility of a big earthquake. So just got to be on guard here. As far as the Cascadia there's that one earthquake from late last night. This earthquake is just due west and upstream from a tremor event there. Let's go ahead and check out Cascadia tremor. Let's see, I got a number of these windows open here, but just been kind of busy on this end. Tremor event today, Northern California. Not a whole lot of earthquake activity upstream, though. But I don't even know if they're reporting all the earthquakes this weekend. I haven't really been looking at these seismograph stations here, but there is some tremor activity, extreme southern end of the Cascadia. And if we look at yesterday's event, go back one day here, where that surface fracture earthquake, the 2.8 struck up in Oregon, that roughly in the same area as that tremor. So things are quite strained with any type of tremor event. We get earthquakes, except for today. unless they haven't been reporting them. Same up around the Vancouver area. Remember that 4.8 from yesterday? That is the area where the tremor stirred up yesterday. So let me go back to the, it's been over the last 24 hours here, so I'd have to go back here. Same area as the tremor, and it's just, it's a noticeable pattern out here of increasing movement. The Cascadia has a lot to do with it. Plate boundary down here, the San Andreas fault, a lot to do with everything as well. So it's strained. Just good to be on guard out here. Movement across the, what is this here? Mount St. Helens there. I should know that. That was just been a long weekend. A couple smaller earthquakes throughout the afternoon there. 2.2 and a 1.1. We can double check the seismograph stations there around that area. Make sure we're not seeing any major swarm. Those earthquakes struck, I believe, outside of the region here, but just going to double check the seismograph station up at the summit. Make sure the bells are off, which they are. There's a couple of those earthquakes, a couple small ones there from today, and not really active up there around Mount St. Helens. Just a couple small earthquakes is all that's being recorded. Up here across the Washington area, Leah Hill, that's a 3.4. Again, that's an odd earthquake, 15 miles deep though. There's a lot of stuff going on here across the Cascadia right now in terms of pressurization. Yellowstone National Park, nothing showing up there for, man, even the all magnitudes map is absent of earthquake activity, but let's go verify that. Make sure we're looking at the recent data, and these still look like they're behind. I think this is even probably a day old now. Here's the 22nd. Yeah, we're not. This went offline here about 11 o'clock this morning, local time there, mountain time. So, man, this has been offline for well over 12 hours. No clue what's going on there as far as earthquake activity. I mean, I do have the seismograph stations here. Periodically, we'll see a little spike or two show up on Yellowstone, but nothing big, I suppose, or else we'd be knowing about it. Rest of the country, oil fields out there in Texas still getting hit. Same for Oklahoma. Nothing going on across the east aside from one lonesome earthquake up here outside of Montreal. A 1.6. Very small earthquake. Over across Iceland here near the Bardabunga region, 5.1 earthquake. Just off the plate boundary here, rift zone. Probably getting close here to seeing another eruption across the Savartsingi area. I was looking at the run times here of the GPS position, the inflation chart here across the Savartsingi area. Inflation chart right here. We've been going up here over the last couple months since the last eruption there. When was that? Back in November sometime, I believe, last year. So we've had plenty of time here to go up in terms of inflation, and I would suspect here that we're going to see an eruption across the area soon, and that's for the Savartsingi area, Grindavik region. Let's see, where's my... it's been a little while since I've checked on earthquake activity out here in Iceland. So let's see, there's that 5-pointer. Pretty decent earthquake. It looks like a little swarm going on out there across that Volcano region, the Bardabunga region. Decent earthquake. Volcano status still at green. Down here across the Savartsingi area where the inflation is going on, a little bit of earthquake activity. We've seen a number of eruptions out here, obviously, over the last year or so. I don't see any signs of any near-term eruption, but that will come with increasing earthquake activity like we've seen in the past. But for now, just a couple smaller quakes out there. All right, largest earthquake activity here in the last 24 hours across the Solomon Islands, a 5.6, 36 miles deep here. With it looks like it's associated with a little swarm here of 5-pointers. It's a little decent event. I'm sure there's some other earthquake activity as well. not showing up on the map here, as far as smaller quakes go. So keep an eye on that. Quite active here across the area of the Java Trench eastward. Of course, that's expected here following quite a few days of deeper activity around the region. We're still seeing some deep quakes in the area. Could be a key indicator here of some larger movement about ready to take place at the surface levels. Up around the Tonga Trench, a 5-pointer. Looks like New Zealand's got a little swarming going on there across the northern end of the Hikurangi subduction zone. So let's run over and check out the GeoNet servers, see what's going on out here in New Zealand. 2.8, one of the latest quakes there across North Island, 30 kilometers deep. That's just the week and above. We'd have to include all these magnitudes here to see what's going on underneath the area. Quite a bit of deeper movement here, it looks like, within this area of North Island. Quite a bit. Some deeper movement quakes here as well. 4.1 into the southern end of the Kermadec Trench. See if there's anything significant showing up here on the seismos. There's a couple of those 2s that were showing up here in the last 24 hours. Not seeing anything unusual. Down south, a little bit of earthquake activity as well across South Island, but nothing major going on there for now. But it's an obvious increase in earthquake activity out here. Not shown up so much on the USGS map, but these little quakes, 3s and 4s, count as part of the this is broad scale event taking place. Nothing major going on there for now, aside from the elevated multitude of quakes. But we'll keep an eye on this here overnight for some larger movement. See what we got as far as maybe some filling in areas go. This is the last 30 days. Quite active back here across the Fiji area. A lot of deeper quakes. Really no quiet zones here. Normally we'll look for little quiet seismic gap zones where we might be expecting some larger movement, but everything's kind of filling in. Doesn't mean that we may not see anything, but looks more than likely maybe it might be the Java Trench area here where we could see some further larger adjustment, lacking a little bit of quake activity there. Japan, some 4s stirring up out there this morning off the east coast. Nankai Trough still pretty quiet. Nothing going on there for mega quake activity, but it's in the future here, I'm sure. Middle America Trench, 4.1 into the area right now in the red flag. South America area, 5.4 down here along the Peru-Chile Trench. And that triple point boundary between the Nazca, Antarctica, and the South America plate. Interesting activity, 5.4. The Atlantic Ocean, aside from movement up in Iceland, looks pretty quiet across the board. As far as earthquake activity goes in the Santorini area, we'll check out the live seismograph station there in the region, where it looks pretty calm for now. Still recording 660 events here in the last few days, with the last earthquake being a 1.8 outside the area. That's obviously not a big earthquake. Still number of 3s out, or number of 2s. Things tapering off here, so to speak, but there's still definitely some earthquake activity out there around the Santorini area of Greece. Let's check out the seismograph viewer. Recorded data here. Yeah, a lot, even though we have quite a few 2s and 1s, are really not showing up here on the map. Some of them maybe, but this is a Santorini, Greece station. It's dying off. This is probably, the 4th day now of somewhat quieter conditions. We'll continue to watch this, though, folks. I think, those 12, 13,000 earthquakes that we've seen in this area in the last few weeks is not just coincidence there. It's something that has built up, and we're going to watch this in the future here, see if things don't escalate. Because these volcano processes there, they take time in terms of magma coming up more and more towards the surface area. But quieter conditions out there. Space weather activity here. Wow, what's out on the sun? The sun earning some stripes out there. Looks like some data blackout. Something's going on here with the solar ham site. Not for sure what. I don't know if it's solar ham or not. Let's see here. Maybe, but either way, a little bit of M flare activity earlier. Not for sure what's going on with that. M flare movement right here. Decent M flare, moderate M flare coming in to the area. Okay, so it looks like it might be Space Weather Prediction Center that's having some issues. An M 4.9, I believe. There we go. Fairly impulsive event off of, see where that sunspot was. Oh, wow. Way out on the western limb, so definitely not directed at Earth, and that sunspot, man, doesn't even look like it's visible. Just barely. But won't be for long. Probably from, I'm guessing, 4001 over here. That was a newer sunspot that just popped up out of the blue. We're left with, let's see what we got here in terms of complexity. This sunspot up here was a fairly new one, but it's decaying already. Really not too impressed with any of these aside. Maybe from this area might pop off some stronger flaring. It's still currently facing the Earth. And a couple newer areas. This one up here looks pretty fancy, up on the northeastern quadrant of the sun. That's going to be 4006. So we'll watch these sunspots here in the coming days. Not for sure what's up with that stripe right there, but looks like it's just some type of data blackout. Couple coronal holes here in the future as well. It looks like that may amplify some conditions here in the coming nights as far as aurora activity goes. Nothing major in the forecast for now. 10% chance for X flare. M flare at 45. I set mine at about 60 or so. There's decent chances here from a couple of them, couple sunspots there that could throw off a couple more M flares. Storm Prediction Center, not a whole lot of severe weather out there. I know Washington's getting a dandy of a storm up there tonight. We only picked up a few sprinkles here in Northern California where I'm at, outside of Chico, along the coastline. Obviously a little bit more. That will continue through the evening. And look at that big storm coming in. Big wind maker up there across Seattle as well. I probably have wind gusts up around 70, 80 miles per hour associated with that low pressure center there Monday night into Tuesday morning. So that's lucky for them. I wish it was down south here, but as far as anything for the West Coast, looks like a little cut-off low-pressure system as we head into the first week of March, bringing rainfall for Southern California area. After that, well, guess we'll have to see what happens here. Getting into that time of year, the springtime here, where things are going to start mixing up. The jet stream will normally push a little bit further north, but still looks like there's going to be quite a few cold spells out here for the country. Yeah, that looks like a big-time severe weather event if that comes to play. But that's well into the second week of March, so to speak there. That's not even, I don't know, that could easily change here. Let me see what we got for hurricane activity. I thought I seen something about a hurricane down here. Oh, right now it's a tropical cyclone 18. Let's see here. Where are we at? Port Moresby. I don't think that's going to have any effect here for anyone of around the States area. All right. Pretty quiet across the seismos for now, folks. We'll just continue to keep an eye here on California. Obviously, things a little on the uptick here today. No big events, but that, for a 24-hour period, that's a lot of earthquake activity along the San Andreas Fault. Bay Area, pretty quiet. Of course, it wasn't so much quiet here in the last couple weeks with a swarm on the Hayward Fault. Just noticeable patterns of uptick across various areas of the West Coast here in the last couple weeks. That includes all areas up north here through Washington, Vancouver, Cascadia subduction zone. Awfully quiet, but this is one of those areas that they normally won't have like a 6 or a 7, as far as like earthquake foreshocks or whatnot. It normally just goes all at once, as far as the 9.0 goes, or a partial rupture. That could be a 8-pointer down here, even an 8-pointer up north here across this area. But more than likely, a partial rupture would be down south here across Northern California, Southern Oregon, just due to the slip rate that occurs down here. It's a lot higher than the rest of the area up north. So we'll just watch it. It's been, definitely quite elevated out here. Aside from that, Alaska, nothing major going on up there for now. A couple of smaller earthquakes, but that's about it. All right, folks, I'm out of here. I am going to call it. Hope everyone has a good night. We'll see you guys back out here for the Sunday morning update. Stay safe out there.